Shotgun.
Welcome back to Hardball. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun. That was Vice President Biden speaking for gun control this week in an online town meeting, a town hall, and that response came to a question about whether an assault weapons ban would prevent citizens from defending themselves. Well, then yesterday, the Vice President was up in Connecticut making an emotional push, a good place to make it, obviously, for stricter gun laws.
If the shooter in Tucson had a 10-round magazine instead of a 30-round magazine, little granddaughter of a friend of mine from Wilmington, Delaware, who used to manage the Philadelphia Phillies, she'd be alive today. Because when changing his magazine, a woman leaned over in the crowd and knocked his arm, and that's how they subdued him. It makes a difference. Wouldn't have saved everybody. Wouldn't have saved everybody. But the last two people shot would be alive.
Let's go to Steve McMahon to try to disentangle the strange role he's playing. First of all, what role is he legitimately playing for the president by being such a, shotgun Willie here? He's talking about get yourself a shotgun. He said it twice. I'm going to teach my wife how to use it. Get up on the balcony in our leafy neighborhood, let off a couple of shots. I mean, this is what he's saying. Not just have a gun, but let off a couple of shots in the direction or somewhere around the guy you think is trying to get in your house. It's pretty weird. This isn't liberal talk. This isn't big city we're against guns talk at all.
Well, it's not, and it's talk
what is it?
Because it's talk like this. It's regular Joe talking to Joe Sixpack about common sense gun control laws, and he's doing it because it's the middle, if you will, the people who could go either way on this, who respect the First Amendment. The Second Amendment, who are hunters, who may own guns themselves. It's the Obama administration and Joe Biden, through Joe Biden, sending a message that we get the importance of the Second Amendment. We understand the value of owning a gun. We understand what it can do for people who want to protect their families. But there are limits to what you need to protect your family, and a shotgun is enough. And I mean, I think this notion that, if you fire 2 shots at somebody coming at you with a shotgun and you hit them in the chest, they're not going to come at you anymore. You don't need an assault weapon to hit them, and you don't need an assault weapon to protect your family or to hunt.
Well, yeah, but doesn't that sound like odd if you look at the Democratic platform, even most recently, it's all about gun safety, gun control, and here's the guy say, go buy a gun. Right. It's just, let me ask you, don't give me the political correct answer here, which you're giving me. What are they up to? Is this to move beyond the cities, move beyond the suburbs even, to try to make sure the Democrats have somebody that can talk to the rural guy? Well,
Chris, I think it's moving beyond the cities and even beyond the suburbs and into more rural America. But that's where the votes are to make the difference on something like a magazine clip limit. Because everybody in the big cities already supports whatever gun control Democrats bring forward, and it's in rural America and in the suburbs where they resist it. And so Joe Biden's out there basically saying, buy a gun, own a gun, protect your family, respect the Second Amendment, but you don't need a clip, you don't need an assault weapon, so it's a smart play.
Okay, let's be totally political about this. Suppose we don't get gun control. Where does that leave Biden? Where does that leave the president? Say this year is a good year to get it, if we're ever going to get it. If we don't get even the magazine limit on the number of bullets, if we don't even get that this year because it doesn't clear the Senate and therefore it doesn't have to come up in the House, it doesn't happen. Politically, where does that leave the president? And then secondly, where does that leave the vice president going towards 2016?
Well, I think the president is in a good position because he tried, and I think the vice president is in a good position because he's out there making the case. And you have to wonder, as you look at 2016 and what the field looks like, let's assume for a second that Hillary doesn't run. You've got 2 governors who are moving, Andrew Cuomo and Martin O'Malley in Maryland, both very progressive, and I think Joe Biden is trying to check them on gun control, but demonstrate to Democratic primary voters for 2016, and we know he's going to run because he's already indicated he wants to run, that he's somebody who can go into Pennsylvania, who can go into Ohio, who can go into some of these communities where Democrats, particularly northeastern liberal Democrats, have a tough time winning a general election. He can speak to those people, he can get their votes, he can earn their trust, and Democrats can win in 2016 with Joe Biden. I think it's a really, really smart play for the administration all the way around. And by the way, the other thing here is from the president's perspective, you put Biden out there, and if it doesn't go well and he doesn't get everything he wants, then the president isn't quite as personally and politically invested as he might otherwise be, because he's got a lot of different things he's got to do, a lot of balls in the air. This is really important to the administration, but it's something that Biden can do very effectively for the president, and it can do everyone at the administration a world of good.
Do you think Steve, you know the Democrat politics, man-to-man, person-to-person, you talk to people. Do you think there's any way that a successful effort by Joe Biden on this or any other issue would forestall even an inch or two Secretary Clinton's decision whether to run or not? Would this in any way chill her wanting to run? The fact that he's out, because everybody thinks he'll pull out if she goes in.
I don't think it will. I think Hillary Clinton gets to make a decision, and then the field gets to react to that decision. I think what it does do, though, Chris, and let's assume for a second, if she runs, she's the prohibitive front runner. Vice President Biden may still run, but it's a different race. If she does not run, that's where this kind of activity does Vice President so much good. Because what he's trying to do is he's trying to take all the oxygen out of the room. He's trying to basically suffocate those who might run against him, which includes those two governors that I mentioned, and also probably some other members of the Senate who are looking at it. What Joe Biden does not want is a multi-candidate field in 2016. He wants to have a clear shot, get the nomination, probably put a great big super PAC together, of course, completely within the rules, and get started on the general election as soon as possible. What he doesn't want is to go through what Mitt Romney went through this last year and come through a long primary process, weakened, drained, and financially hurting.
Steve, you've taught me a lot here in a couple of minutes. And by the way, if he wins, if he even gets in the running and gets the nomination, I think it's because, well, Secretary Clinton decides not to run. But also, he did a hell of a job shaking up the campaign last fall. That campaign was not in good shape after the president had that problem in the first debate. And then Biden came in there very unevenly and a little bit crassly, knocked the hell out of Paul Ryan. I think people really needed that, and I think it made him look pretty damn good. Anyway, thank you, Steve McMahon. It's great to have you. Where are you at, by the way? You look nice down there.
Thank you.
Anyway, you don't have to answer. Up next. You don't have to tell me. Up
next,
we've heard
a warm.
It looks beautiful. Up there. We've heard a lot of crazy things over the years from Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert, but his latest takes it a whole new level. Wait till you hear this guy. This guy is something. He's fun. He's so crazy. And this is Hardball, the place for politics.